You ever notice how people think winning feels like fireworks, like parades, like cheers echoing in the night? But when the dust settles, when the last handclap fades, all you hear is silence. That's the part no one tells you about. You spend your life chasing, clawing, bleeding for the finish line, and when you finally crawl across it, there's no grand orchestra waiting. Just you, your breath, and the eerie quiet that follows. Winning isn't the explosion. It's the emptiness afterward. It's the realization that the mountain you conquered doesn't cheer for you. It just stands there, indifferent, waiting for the next fool to climb. Victory is such a funny word, isn't it? People like to dress it up in confetti and fireworks, like it's this grand parade where everyone is clapping, and you're standing there with a smile plastered on your face, pretending you've reached the peak of something. But real victory, the kind no one talks about, doesn't come with balloons and banners. It comes with torn hands, sleepless nights, and a mind that's been dragged through the mud. Survival, that's the real definition of winning. You didn't outshine the crowd, you outlasted the chaos. And survival, oh, it's not glamorous. It's bloody, it's messy, and it's so very quiet. Most people will never understand it. They think victory is some polished speech or a shiny medal hanging around your neck. They imagine applause, admiration, recognition. But survival doesn't care about any of that. It cares about the fact that you didn't give up when everything inside you screamed to. It cares about how many times you wanted to quit, but your body still kept moving, even when your soul was crawling. Victory is survival, not applause, because applause fades. But survival stays etched into your skin like scars you can't wash away. Think about it. Applause is fleeting. It's a sound, an echo that bounces off the walls, and then dies out in seconds. People clap for you today, then tomorrow they've already forgotten your name. But survival, that sticks with you forever. Every bruise, every tear, every crack in your voice that nobody heard while you were fighting alone, those are the marks of victory. Nobody has to see them for them to be real. Survival is the applause of life itself. Life saying, "You didn't break, not this time." You see, applause is external, survival is internal. Applause is a performance, survival is the raw, unfiltered truth. When you're lying on the floor, heart racing, mind screaming, body refusing to move, and still, somehow, you get up, tell me, what stage could ever compare to that? Who needs clapping hands when your very existence is proof that you fought back against something that wanted to bury you? Survival doesn't need an audience. It doesn't need a spotlight. It doesn't need validation. Survival only needs you, breathing, standing, even if you're shaking. Especially if you're shaking. The world doesn't care about your survival, but you do. They only see results, not the battles. They only see you standing, not the storms you crawl through to get there. They only cheer when you cross the finish line, but they never saw the nights you wanted to burn the whole race down just to escape it. They clap when they see you win, but they never clap for the days you dragged yourself out of bed when your chest was heavy like concrete. And that's why applause means nothing. Because if you depended on it, you'd have quit long before you made it here. Victory is survival, and survival is lonely. It doesn't feel like triumph. It feels like exhaustion. It feels like the world wanted you gone, and you said no. It feels like the end of a battle. No one knew you were even fighting. Survival means you fought demons nobody clapped for. You endured storms nobody thanked you for. And maybe you'll never get the applause you think you deserve. But that's the point, because survival was never about them. It was always about you. So when you think about victory, strip away the illusion. Take away the noise, the congratulations, the stage lights. Ask yourself, are you still here? Did you keep going when you had every reason to stop? That's victory. That's the crown. Not applause, not fame, not the hollow sound of hands meeting for a moment. Victory is survival, and survival is enough. You know what's funny? People wait their whole lives to hear those words. You won. They think it'll feel like fireworks exploding in their chest, like the universe handing them a golden ticket. But when it happens, when the war is actually over, when the noise finally dies down, it doesn't feel like triumph. It feels strange, almost empty, like the silence after a storm. You expect to feel light, but instead, you feel heavy. Heavy with the weight of what you had to do to get here. Heavy with the ghosts of every moment that nearly broke you. Because winning isn't about gaining something shiny. It's about losing parts of yourself along the way and realizing you're never getting them back. Nobody tells you that. They sell you the fantasy. They say once you win, you'll feel complete. But winning doesn't complete you. It carves you open. It makes you look at your scars and wonder how much of you is left. And yet, isn't that what makes it so beautiful? The fact that you made it through hell, and even if you're not whole anymore, you're still standing. Broken, bent, twisted, but standing. And that's what the end really is. Not some neat little bow tied on top of your suffering, but the realization that you survived it. Winning means remembering every loss, every failure that dragged you down, every night you thought about giving up, every voice that told you you couldn't do it. Winning doesn't erase those moments. It makes them louder, echoes bouncing in your skull. But now, when you hear them, you can laugh, because you didn't stop there. You didn't freeze in the middle of the darkness. You pushed through it. And maybe that's what victory really is. Looking back at the monsters that tried to kill you and realizing they're nothing but shadows now. But let's not pretend it's all glory. Winning costs you. Sometimes it costs relationships, sometimes your health, sometimes your mind. Nobody wins without bleeding somewhere. Nobody wins without nights they regret, choices they hate, moments they wish they could take back. That's the toll. That's the price of getting to the end. And the truth is, most people aren't willing to pay it. They want the victory without the pain, the trophy without the battle, the joy without the chaos. But that's not how it works. If you're here, if you've won, then you know exactly what it cost you. and you carry it like a weight strapped to your back. And when it's over, when you finally hear, it's all over, you realize something else. Winning isn't the end of pain. It's the beginning of understanding. You start to see that every scar is a lesson, every wound a map, every failure a step. You start to understand that the prize isn't the victory itself. It's who you became on the way here. Stronger, sharper, a little more dangerous, maybe even a little colder. Because to win, you had to harden yourself. To win, you had to shade the skin of who you used to be. The strangest part, after all of it, the world doesn't really change. The sun still rises, people still complain, life still goes on like it always did. The world doesn't stop for your victory. It doesn't bend or bow. And maybe that's the most sobering realization. You did all this for you. Not for applause, not for recognition, not for the parade, for you. And when it's finally over, when the dust settles, you sit there in the silence, and you realize you didn't win because life crowned you. You won because you refused to lose. And that's the kind of victory nobody can take away. People think the real fight is outside. They think it's about enemies, about rivals, about proving the world wrong. But the truth is, the deadliest battle is the one nobody sees, the war inside your own skull, the whispers in the dark, the voices telling you you're not enough, the doubts that wrap around your throat tighter than any rope. That's the real battlefield. And the cruel joke. Most people lose before they even step foot outside. They surrender to themselves. They let fear chain them, let guilt bury them, let insecurity strangle them. No enemy needs to touch them, because they've already folded from the inside out. You ever notice how loud silence gets when you're alone? That's when the real fight happens. Not when you're surrounded by people cheering or booing, but when it's just you in the dark, staring at the ceiling, replaying every failure, every mistake, every what if. That's where most people break. That's where they decide whether to keep going or let the darkness eat them alive. And the terrifying part, nobody else will ever know what you fought through. They'll just see the smile, the mask, the performance. They'll never understand how many times you were seconds away from throwing it all away. But the funny thing about pain, it doesn't just destroy, it builds. Every scar in your mind, every sleepless night, every breakdown, it carves something into you. It makes you sharper. It forces you to see the truth about yourself. Weakness isn't the thoughts that scare you. It's believing those thoughts. Strength isn't never feeling fear. It's staring fear in the face and walking forward anyway. And once you realize that, once you understand that the war inside is nothing but shadows trying to trick you, you become dangerous. Because now nothing outside can break you if you've already beaten the thing inside. Think about it. How many people do you know who never really live because they're too busy fighting themselves? They never take the leap, never chase the dream, never risk the fall. Because they're stuck in a prison they built out of their own doubts. And you can see it in their eyes. They walk around every day already defeated, already convinced they can't win. That's not life. That's a slow death. And you've been there. You've felt it. You know what it's like to drag yourself through the mud of your own thoughts. To feel like your mind is both the cage and the executioner. But here's the twist. When you finally choose to fight back, when you refuse to let those voices dictate your future, you realize the war inside was the preparation. Every moment of doubt was training. Every breakdown was rehearsal. Every scream into the pillow, every silent tear, every night you cursed yourself, it was building something. It was creating a version of you strong enough to face what comes next. And that's why you had to go through it. Because if you can't survive yourself, you'll never survive the world. The battle inside is the cruelest, but it's also the most necessary. It teaches you resilience the hard way. It strips you bare until there's nothing left but the raw truth of who you are. And when you crawl out of it, when you finally win against yourself, you walk differently. You breathe differently. You look at people differently. Because you know most of them are still fighting wars they'll never admit to. You know most of them are crumbling under the weight of their own minds. And while they hide it behind fake smiles, you carry your scars openly, and that makes you untouchable. The irony is, people will call you lucky. They'll say you've got some special strength, some gift they don't. They'll never understand that what they're admiring is built from nights of torment, days of doubt, endless battles with yourself. They'll never see the war you won in silence. But that's fine, because you'll know. You'll know the victory that matters isn't on a stage, or in a bank account, or in applause. The victory that matters is the one you win when nobody's watching, when nobody believes in you, not even yourself. That's the kind of win that changes everything. People love to act like destiny is some grand, shining staircase laid out before them, polished and clean, waiting for them to simply stroll up with a smile. But the truth is, destiny is hidden in dirt, buried under rubble, disguised as chaos. It's not wrapped in golden ribbons. It's covered in blood, sweat, and scars. That's why most people never find it. They're too busy waiting for it to look pretty. Too busy expecting it to come with applause and approval. They don't realize it's supposed to look like pain first. They don't realize it's supposed to break you before it builds you. You think you're walking through setbacks, but you're actually walking through shaping. Every no you hear, every door slammed in your face, every moment you feel abandoned, it's the hammer hitting the steel. And what do you do with steel? You forge it in fire. You bend it, you beat it. You burn it until it's strong enough to hold weight. And if life is treating you rough, if life is tearing you apart, maybe it's because you're not glass, you're steel. You're meant to hold something heavy, and heavy things can't rest on weak foundations. Funny thing is, when you're in the middle of it, it feels like punishment. It feels like the universe is laughing at you, watching you stumble, daring you to quit. But what if the joke is on you, because all of this was training? What if all those wounds you curse are actually proof that you're being prepared for something bigger than the ones who've had it easy? Think about it. The strongest people you know didn't get there sipping tea in comfort. They got there by surviving storms that should have drowned them. They got there because every time life told them, stay down, they got up anyway. You see, destiny doesn't come with a polite knock on the door. It barges in through struggle. It disguises itself as loss. It makes you taste failure until you're sick of it, until you learn how to turn failure into fuel. And the cruel irony: most people quit right before the breakthrough. They throw away the key because the lock looked too hard. They never realized the pain was the proof. The fire was the confirmation. The suffering was the stamp of approval. You don't get chosen without scars. You don't get purpose without pressure. Every time you've cried alone, every time you've screamed at the sky asking, why me? Every time you've felt like you're cursed, it wasn't a curse. It was a calling. Life doesn't toughen the ones it doesn't need. It doesn't break down the ones it doesn't plan to use for something bigger. If you've been crushed, if you've been tested beyond reason, it's because there's something waiting for you that requires that kind of resilience. People without storms can't handle thunder. People without scars can't handle crowns. They'd break under the same weight that you're being built to carry. And here's where it gets twisted. Most people run from the very thing that would set them free. They run from the grind, from the fire, from the moments of absolute despair. They numb themselves, distract themselves, hide from themselves, and then wonder why they never feel alive. But you've been thrown into it whether you wanted it or not. You've been dragged through things that made you question everything. And instead of it killing you, it woke something up. It made you see that life's worst moments can be life's greatest gifts if you don't quit in the middle. What people don't tell you is that destiny isn't discovered in light. It's uncovered in darkness. The darkest nights, the heaviest burdens, the moments when you wanted to give up. That's where you find out who you are. That's where you discover what you're capable of. And it's messy. It's ugly. It's not the kind of story people clap for. But it's the kind of story that forges you into someone unstoppable. And maybe that's why the pain doesn't stop. Because you're not meant to be soft. You're meant to be unbreakable. Winning isn't about shiny medals or golden trophies. It's about the scars you carry that nobody claps for. The ones on your body, the ones on your mind, the ones buried so deep that only you know how they still ache. People see the outside and think success is smooth, clean, polished. But underneath it all, victory is jagged, messy, torn apart and stitched back together again. The scars are what prove you fought. The scars are what prove you didn't just talk about it. You survived it. Every line carved into you is a story that says, I was here, I bled, I broke, but I didn't disappear. Funny thing is, society teaches people to hide their scars, to cover them with makeup, with fake smiles. with rehearsed speeches about how easy the climb was. They'll tell you it was luck, timing, a little talent, maybe a sprinkle of discipline. They leave out the nights of screaming into the pillow, the mornings when they couldn't get out of bed, the moments they thought it was over, because scars don't sell as well as polished images. Scars scare people because they remind them that greatness isn't handed out, it's carved into flesh. You want to know the truth. The scars are the only things that can't be faked. You can fake confidence, fake success, fake wealth, fake happiness. But you can't fake the cracks in your soul. You either have them or you don't. And those cracks, those cuts, they tell the truth about what you've endured. They tell the truth about what you've lost and what you've clawed back. They're the receipts of survival, the proof that you walked through fire and made it out smoking. Without scars, your victory is just decoration. With scars, your victory is undeniable. And maybe that's why the strongest people you'll ever meet aren't the ones with the loudest mouths, but the ones with the deepest wounds. They don't need to boast, because their very existence is proof enough. Their walk carries weight. Their eyes tell you stories they don't even need to speak. They're different because they've touched pain in a way most people run from. And once you've tasted that kind of pain, you're not impressed by applause anymore. You know the real reward isn't what people hand you. It's what you survived when nobody was watching. But here's the twisted part. Scars don't just remind you of battles lost, they remind you of battles won. Every scar is a checkpoint. A moment you thought you couldn't make it past, but you did. You didn't stop at the wound, you walked through it. The scar is the evidence that healing took place, that you refused to stay broken. It whispers to you in the dark, if you survive that you can survive this too. That's why scars are priceless. They're not shame, they're maps. Maps of the journey that turned you from ordinary to unstoppable. Most people want success without scars. They want power without pain, glory without grit, the crown without the cross. But the universe doesn't work that way. It demands payment, and scars are the currency. Every inch of your struggle, every cut, every bruise, it's all part of the price. And the ones who don't have scars, they didn't pay it. They didn't fight for it. They didn't bleed for it. Which means when the storm comes again, they'll break because they were never built to last. So look at yourself. Look at the scars you carry, physical or invisible. They are not ugly. They are not shameful. They are your medals, the kind that can't be stolen, the kind that can't be faked. They are what separate you from the ones who gave up. And the day you stop hiding them, the day you stop being ashamed of them, is the day you understand that you've already won more than most people ever will. Because victory isn't about looking perfect. It's about looking at the wreckage, the scars, the bruises, and knowing you're still standing when everything else tried to bury you. Funny thing about need, it's never as simple as hunger or thirst. No, this is deeper, heavier. The kind of need that doesn't sit in your stomach, It claws at your chest. And when something carries that much weight, you can't take it lightly, can you? You can't just sit alone, staring at the walls, pretending you've got it all under control. Because the truth is, you don't. This isn't made to be swallowed in silence. It's meant to be felt, shared, echoed in another soul. The funny thing about silence is that people think it keeps them safe. They believe if they keep their little secrets buried, tucked away in the corners of their mind, no one will ever know, no one will ever see. But silence isn't safety. Silence is a time bomb. You can swallow the words, you can bury the truth, you can lock the door, but the thing you're hiding doesn't disappear. It sits there, waiting, grinning, scratching at the inside of your skull. You try to smile, act normal, but you know it's there. The silence you cling to is the very thing that will betray you, because silence is loud. Louder than your excuses, louder than your lies, louder than your laughter. It screams in your sleep. It bleeds into your voice when you speak. It seeps through your eyes when you look at yourself in the mirror. You think you're hiding it, but it's hiding you. The things you refuse to say out loud, they don't vanish. They grow teeth. They grow claws. And one day, when you least expect it, they'll come out. You can sit in a room full of people and say nothing, but everyone feels it. They feel the tension in your silence. They sense the weight behind the words you never let out. Silence is a liar's worst disguise. You think you're clever, but it gives you away. Every time. That's the irony. You try to control the story by saying nothing, but the silence tells the whole story for you. You ever notice how heavy silence feels when you're guilty? How it burns on your skin? How the clock ticks louder? How the air feels thicker? That's not imagination. That's your silence turning into sound. The sound of your conscience cracking. The sound of the truth begging to escape. You can try to bury it deeper, but the deeper you push it, the stronger it gets. Like pressing down on a spring. The more you push, the harder it'll snap back. People are terrified of speaking, but they should be terrified of not speaking. Words, once spoken, may hurt. They may cut. They may ruin reputations. But silence is poison. It doesn't explode. It seeps. It rots you from the inside out. It makes you paranoid, makes you restless, makes you weak. And soon you start to see it everywhere. Little reminders of what you've buried. Every conversation feels like a trap. Every laugh feels like a mockery. Every glance feels like suspicion. You're haunted by the ghost of your own silence. And let's be honest, isn't it amusing how people convince themselves they're in control while silence eats them alive? They call it strength. They call it discipline. They call it wisdom. But no, it's fear. Pure, raw fear. They don't want the world to hear the truth, not because the truth is unbearable, but because once it's out there, they can't hide anymore. Silence keeps them in a little cage, and they polish the bars, decorate it, call it home. But it's still a cage. You can see it in their faces. The twitch of a smile when a certain topic comes up. The way their eyes dart away. The nervous laugh, the throat clearing, the sudden change of subject. Silence leaks through every movement. It betrays them in ways words never could. Because when you talk, you can spin the story. When you stay silent, the story spins itself, and usually, it's darker than reality. The loudest screams aren't the ones that echo in the streets. They're the ones inside your chest, trapped, rattling the ribs, begging to come out. And when you've lived long enough with them, you realize something cruel. The silence never protected you. It only delayed the inevitable. It let the monster grow. It made the shadow bigger. And by the time the silence finally cracks, it's too late. The scream that escapes is too loud, too wild, too uncontrollable. It shatters everything. So people hide in silence thinking they're clever, thinking they're untouchable. But every second of silence is another nail in their coffin. Every unspoken truth is another chain around their throat. And when it finally breaks, when the silence finally screams, it doesn't whisper, it roars. And the world hears it all. You ever notice how people are obsessed with masks? Not the painted ones, no. I mean the invisible ones. The smiles they glue on in the morning, the polite nods, the cheerful tones that taste like ash in their mouths. They walk around with faces that aren't theirs, hiding the chaos inside, terrified that someone might actually see what's really there. Funny thing is, the more they hide, the more obvious it becomes. Because you can fake laughter, you can fake kindness, but you can't fake the cracks. The cracks always show. And once they show, no matter how much makeup you smear on them, no matter how many lies you whisper, people feel them. They may not say it, but they know. They always know. Masks aren't about protecting yourself. They're about control. You wear them because you want to dictate how the world sees you. You want to be seen as strong when you're crumbling, smart when you're lost, happy when you're suffocating. It's not about hiding weakness. It's about maintaining the illusion of strength. But here's the twist. Illusions demand energy. They demand focus. And sooner or later, the weight of the mask breaks the face beneath it. You can only pretend for so long before the real you leaks out in the form of nervous hands, restless eyes, shaky voices. The mask cracks under pressure, and when it does, it doesn't just fall. It shatters. Think about it. How many people live entire lives without ever showing their true faces? They get married with masks on. They raise children with masks on. They go to their graves, and not a single soul ever met the real them. Will tell you they were protecting others, but the truth, they were afraid. Afraid of rejection, afraid of judgment, afraid of being seen as they are. The irony is delicious. They spend their entire existence trying to hide, yet deep down, they crave to be known. They crave someone to peel that mask off, someone who won't flinch at the ugliness, someone who'll laugh at the scars instead of gasp. That hunger eats them alive, while they smile their painted smile. But let me tell you something. Masks are fragile. All it takes is one bad day. One little moment when the pressure becomes unbearable. One slip of the tongue. One uncontrolled laugh. One angry outburst. And just like that, the mask falls. The person you thought you knew, gone. replaced by the stranger hiding underneath. And when the world sees that stranger, they don't forget. They can't. Because truth, once exposed, can never be shoved back into the shadows. There's also something else. Something people don't like to admit. Masks don't just hide the truth from others. They hide it from you. You wear the mask so long you forget the shape of your own face. You start believing the smile is yours. You convince yourself the voice of the mask is your voice. You live in a script so rehearsed you forget it was never real. And then, when the mask slips, it's not just the world that gets shocked, it's you. You stare at the reflection, raw and unfiltered, and you don't recognize it. You're a stranger in your own skin, haunted by the lies you told yourself. Isn't it funny? The very thing people think keeps them safe is what kills them the slowest. Masks suffocate. They take away your ability to breathe freely. You can't laugh without checking if it fits the character. You can't cry without fearing exposure. Every action becomes a calculation, every word a performance. Life turns into a stage, and you're stuck in a role you didn't even audition for. You think you're controlling the mask, but the mask is controlling you. And let's not forget the sweetest irony of all. People put on masks because they're terrified of being rejected. Yet the rejection they fear is inevitable, because no one can truly love what they've never seen. They may admire the mask, sure, but admiration isn't love. They may respect the mask, but respect isn't intimacy. And when the mask cracks, when the truth leaks out, people will recoil, not because of what they see, but because you lied. The betrayal cuts deeper than the flaws ever could. So you tell me, what's more dangerous? Showing the world your scars, or suffocating behind a mask, until the mask itself becomes your coffin? People don't realize that the scariest part of life isn't being seen. It's never being seen at all. Comfort. Oh, what a delicious little poison. It doesn't stab you. It doesn't slap you. No, it whispers to you. It tucks you in at night, strokes your hair, kisses your forehead, and tells you, stay right here. Don't move. You're safe. And you believe it. You cling to it like a child clings to a blanket. And while you're wrapped in that softness, life passes you by. Dreams die. Fire dims. The world spins on. And you're left standing still, smiling in your cozy little prison. That's what comfort is. It's a padded cell. And you lock the door yourself. People like to say failure is what kills ambition. No, that's not true. Failure wakes you up. Failure stings. Failure kicks you in the teeth and forces you to decide. Get up or stay down. But comfort is the silent killer. It doesn't hurt. It doesn't warn you. It lets you drift. It lets you settle. And the worst part is, you don't even realize you're dying inside, because everything feels so pleasant. You ever see someone who's just fine? Not happy, not broken, just fine. They wake up, go to work, eat the same food, talk to the same people, scroll the same screens, then go back to bed, only to repeat it all again. There's no fire, no risk, no hunger. That's comfort at work. It creates zombies. Smiling corpses. Breathing bodies with dead souls. And society loves it because comfortable people don't cause trouble. Comfortable people don't rise. Comfortable people obey. Now here's the funny twist. People defend their comfort like it's treasure. They'll fight tooth and nail to keep things the same. They'll kill possibilities just to preserve their cozy little routines. Why? Because the unknown scares them more than the slow death of comfort. The idea of risking something, even for greatness, terrifies them. So they cling to the familiar chains, polish them up, and call it stability. But chains are still chains, no matter how shiny they look. You want to know the real tragedy? Comfort tricks you into thinking you have time. It tells you, you can chase your dream tomorrow. You can start that project next week. You can change your life later. Later. But later never comes. And then one day, you look in the mirror, and the fire is gone. The face staring back at you isn't a warrior. It's a prisoner who wasted his sentence smiling in a cell made of pillows. The people who actually change the world, they're the ones who spit in the face of comfort. They're the ones who walk straight into the storm, even when their knees shake. They trade security for risk, routine for chaos, certainty for possibility. They understand that comfort and growth are enemies. You can't have both. You either choose to grow, to stretch, to bleed, or you choose to shrink, to wither, to fade away behind a smile. But here's the punchline. Comfort feels good in the moment, but regret will eat you alive in the end. Regret doesn't whisper, it screams. It tears at your insides. It laughs at you in the dark. And all the comfort in the world can't silence it. You can lie on the softest bed, with the warmest blanket, and still feel like you're freezing, because regret is colder than death itself. So ask yourself, what's safer? Living with the risk of failure, or living with the certainty of regret? People think they're choosing safety by choosing comfort, but in reality, they're choosing slow destruction. At least failure teaches, at least pain builds. Comfort just lulls you to sleep while the clock runs out. You ever notice how predators hunt? They don't go after the strongest. They go after the ones standing still, the ones too comfortable to move. And life is the same. It doesn't attack the ones who keep running, who keep fighting. It goes after the ones sitting still, smiling, waiting for nothing. That's when it strikes. That's when it devours you. People get so offended when betrayal knocks on their door, as if it's some foreign guest they never invited. But betrayal doesn't sneak in from strangers. No, it comes from the ones closest to you. The ones you let sit at your table. The ones you handed your trust like a loaded gun, hoping they wouldn't pull the trigger. And when they finally do, when they smile while twisting the knife, you act shocked, as if the mask they wore wasn't slipping the whole time, as if you didn't see the little signs, the hesitation in their voice, the shift in their eyes, the way their loyalty felt a little too rehearsed. Betrayal is never sudden. It's a slow build, a quiet rot, until the fruit looks fine on the outside, but reeks once you bite into it. People cry, "Why me?" when they're betrayed. Wrong question. The better one is, What did it show me? Because betrayal is revelation, not destruction. It doesn't ruin you, it uncovers them. It strips away the pretty speeches, the fake smiles, the handshakes soaked in poison. It shows you who they really are when the mask falls. It's not the act that should shock you, it's the clarity. The truth that was there all along, finally naked in front of you. And if you're smart, you don't waste time mourning the mask. You thank the betrayal for showing you the face beneath. But here's where it gets delicious. Betrayal cuts deeper because you gave them the blade. You trusted them enough to hold it. And when they turned it on you, the pain wasn't from the wound. It was from the realization that you armed your own enemy. That's the sting. That's the lesson. It teaches you about trust, about the danger of blind loyalty, about the cost of giving too much of yourself to people who haven't earned it. And don't think betrayal is always malicious. Sometimes, people reveal themselves not because they planned it, but because pressure squeezed them, because their true nature couldn't stay caged forever. You can only fake loyalty for so long. You can only act pure until the storm hits. Then, when survival instincts kick in, when self-interest outweighs promises, masks fall. And what comes out? The real them. The one you didn't want to see. Most people run from betrayal. They bury it. They numb it. They pretend it didn't happen. But that's a mistake. Betrayal is one of life's sharpest teachers. It wakes you up. It sharpens your instincts. It makes you dangerous because once you've been cut open by it, you stop living blind. You start reading people differently. You notice the cracks in their tone, the inconsistency in their stories, the way their eyes flicker when they speak. You learn to stop handing knives to just anyone. And isn't it funny? Sometimes betrayal is the very thing that frees you. You cling to people, thinking you can't live without them, until they betray you. Then suddenly, you're forced to let go. You're pushed into independence. You're shoved into growth. And in that broken moment, you find strength you never knew you had. The betrayal that felt like death becomes the birth of a sharper, stronger version of you. But don't miss this. Betrayal doesn't just reveal others. It reveals you. It shows you how you respond when the knife is in your back. Do you crumble? Do you crawl? Or do you rise? With the blade still sticking out, laughing, because pain doesn't scare you anymore. Betrayal forces you to confront yourself, to decide whether you'll let bitterness rot you, or whether you'll turn that pain into fuel. The cruelest joke of all. Most people who betray you never think of it as betrayal. They justify it. They twist it. They tell themselves they had no choice. They sleep at night, convinced they're the victim, not you. That's why betrayal is so powerful. It doesn't just rip apart trust. It warps reality. It makes you question not just them, but yourself. Did I miss the signs? Did I deserve it? Was I blind? And in those questions, you find your real answers. Betrayal is ugly, but it's necessary. Without it, you'd keep living blind. Without it, you'd keep inviting snakes into your garden. Without it, you'd never learn that some smiles are sharper than knives. and some promises weigh less than air. And maybe the betrayal you fear the most is the one that finally sets you free. Pain, people treat it like it's some kind of curse, something to avoid at all costs, like it's the enemy. But pain is proof. Proof that something is alive inside you. Proof that growth is happening, whether you like it or not. You don't feel pain if nothing is moving, if nothing is changing. Pain is the body's way of telling you, pay attention. Something's happening here. And yet, most people run from it. They numb it with distractions, drown it with noise, cover it up with fake smiles. They think by ignoring pain they can escape it, but really, they're just delaying the lesson. See, comfort lies. Pain doesn't. Pain is the most honest companion you'll ever have. It doesn't sugarcoat, doesn't flatter, doesn't whisper pretty lies in your ear. It tells you exactly where you're weak, exactly where you're broken, exactly where you need to grow. And that's why people hate it. Because truth hurts, growth hurts. But it's the hurt that shapes you into something more than you were yesterday. Think about it. Every scar you carry tells a story. Every broken bone, every shattered dream, every sleepless night. Each one carved a piece of you into existence. You are not the same person you were before that pain, are you? No, you're sharper, tougher, more awake. Pain didn't destroy you. It rebuilt you. The fire didn't burn you down. It forged you. That's the beauty of it. Pain strips away illusions, strips away weakness, strips away the lies you tell yourself. It leaves behind the raw truth of who you really are. People say they want strength, but they don't want the process that builds it. They want muscles without the tearing. They want wisdom without the heartbreak. They want resilience without the nights spent crying into pillows. But it doesn't work that way. You don't grow from the easy days. You don't transform through laughter alone. You grow when it hurts. You rise when it burns. You evolve when the pain forces you to. And here's the twist. Pain is not punishment. It's preparation. The weight you're carrying, the struggle you're enduring, the ache in your chest when life squeezes you. It's not there to destroy you. It's conditioning you. Every blow is training. Every tear is sharpening. Every wound is an initiation into a stronger, more unshakable version of yourself. You think it's breaking you, but it's really building the armor you'll need for what's coming. But most people never realize this. They get stuck in the hurt, so they curse it, they resist it, they try to numb it. They don't understand that running from pain only multiplies it. The more you avoid it, the louder it screams. The more you resist it, the tighter it grips. But when you face it, really face it, you start to see the gift, the lesson hidden inside the agony, the seed of strength buried under the suffering. Isn't it strange how pain connects people? You can meet a stranger, and if they've walked through the same fire, there's an instant bond. Not from joy, not from laughter, but from pain. Shared wounds recognize each other. It's almost like pain speaks a language only the broken understand. That's why pain isn't just about you. It's about making you human enough to understand others. It softens you while it hardens you. It breaks you open so you can feel more deeply, even as it teaches you to survive more fiercely. And the irony, the moments you thought would kill you, the nights you swore you couldn't survive, those are the very moments that proved your strength. Pain tested you, and you're still here. Maybe limping, maybe scarred, maybe different, but still here. And that's the quiet proof that pain never had the power to end you. It only had the power to transform you. So the next time you feel pain, don't just curse it. Don't just numb it. Listen to it. Because pain doesn't lie. It's telling you something's happening inside you, something that matters, something that will shape the rest of your life.